Ah, there it is, the Mississippi River. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't notice you there. Well, let me introduce myself. I'm the explorer of 1643 through 1687. I am Robert de La Salle. I was born on November 22nd, 1643, in Rouen, Normandy, a region of France. In my younger years, I was a member of the Jesuit religious order. I originally took my vows in 1660, but I was released 7 years later. After my release from the Jesuit order, I left France and headed for Canada. In 1667, I settled in New France, where my brother Jean lives. While I was in New France, a part of land was granted to me on the island of Montreal. I named this land Lachine. Lachine means China in English, and I chose this name because, like all explorers, I wanted to find a route to China. Throughout my years in Canada, I issued land grants for Lachine, set up a village, and attempted to learn the native people's language. I quickly learned to speak to the Iroquois. They told me how the Ohio River flows into the Mississippi. I thought I could find a western route to China by traveling through to the Mississippi River to see if it would take me to the Gulf of California and then go on from there. After receiving the governor's permission of New France, I lost my interest in Lachine and started planning my first expedition. In 1669, my first expedition began. During my venture, I met Louis Joliet and Jacques Marquette. We were the first white men to explore the Mississippi River in Hamilton, Ontario. The expedition continued from there, and eventually I reached the Ohio River, which I followed as far as Louisville, Kentucky. When I returned to Canada, I oversaw the building of Fort Frontenac, which intended to be a station for the fur-growing trade area. In 1673, the fort was completed, and I named it after Louis de Body Frontenac. He was the governor of New France. In 1674, I traveled back to France to gain royal support for my land claims at Fort Frontenac. I achieved the support and got a fur trade allowance. And I got a title of nobility. With my newly found success, I returned to rebuild Fort Frontenac in stone. On August 7, 1679, I and the Italian explorer Henry de Tonti went on the Griffin, the first ship to travel into the Great Lakes. The expedition began at Fort Conty at the mouth of the Niagara River. The start of the voyage, my crew had to bring supplies from Fort Frontenac in order to avoid Niagara Falls. My crew used a portage route established by the Native Americans in the area to carry our supplies around the falls and into Fort Conty. Tonti and I then sailed up Lake Erie and into Lake Herno before finally reaching Green Bay, Wisconsin. I then continued down the shore of Lake Michigan. In January 1680, I built Fort Miami at the mouth of the Miami River. My crew and I spent most of 1680 at Fort Miami. In December, we followed the Miami River to South Bend, India, where it joins Kankakee River. We then followed this river to Illinois River and created Fort Crevecoeur near what is today Peoria, Illinois. I then left Tonti in charge of the fort and returned to Fort Frontenac for supplies. But while I was gone, mutinying soldiers destroyed the fort. After reassembling a new crew consisting of 18 Native Americans, I reunited with Tonti and began the expedition I am most known for. In 1682, my crew and I set sail to the Mississippi River. I named the Mississippi Basin La Louisiane in honor of King Louis XIV. On April 9, 1682, I buried an engraved plate and a cross at the mouth of the Mississippi River. My act officially claimed Louisiana for France. In 1683, I established Fort St. Louis at Starved Rock in Illinois, and I left Tonty in charge while I returned to France to get more supplies. In 1684, I set sail from France and took a route to America to establish a French colony upon my return to the Gulf of Mexico. During the journey, there was navigational errors, and one ship was taken by pirates, a second sank, and the third ran aground at Matagorda Bay. As a result, we set up Fort St. Louis near Victoria, Texas. After Fort St. Louis was set up, I spent a significant amount of time looking for the Mississippi River. On my fourth attempt to locate the river, 36 of my followers mutinied, and on March 19, 1687, I was killed by Pierre Duart. After my death, Fort St. Louis only lasted until 1688, when local Native Americans killed the remaining adults and took children captive. I was born in France. I went to Canada. They gave me a piece of land and I named it Lachine. I left Lachine, went into Lake Erie, and through Lake Huron to reach Green Bay, Wisconsin. I built Fort Miami at the mouth of the Miami River. We landed in Victoria, Texas. That's when Pierre Duhat shot me.